Welcome to Experiencing Consciousness. My name is Dyba.
And I'm Dr. Kathryn Rossi. We're happy you're here.
To make a short introduction, we're going to be analyzing the second part of a session of Dr. Kathryn Rossi with Hubert. And the second part is the part that happened after the sudden disconnection of the Zoom communicator. And so what you're about to see is we are all going back to the setting and working from then on further with the session, right?
Yes. But here we are. So first of all, I really like you.
That's very nice of you.
Thank
you very much.
Well, I mean, I remember when we were kids and everything, when you liked somebody, you told them. And as adults, we sort of leave that. It's like, oh, well, they know or whatever. But, I really like you and I really believe in you. I mean, I really think that you're amazing in what you do and what you want to do, and with this open mind and open heart that you have. And so I know problems come, problems go, that sort of thing. We all got a slew of them. But in this particular junction of your life is to be able to put together a lifestyle that works better. The lifestyle of working, the lifestyle of playing, the lifestyle of, if you have a fiance, that means you're getting married before too long, which is a fantastic, a beautiful change that everyone I've known that's married someone that they really loved has discovered how much more they love now that they're married. And so, I think that that's really good. And then, of course, the miracle of having a child. So your life is just, expanded. Your mind is wanting to expand and expand and expand. And it's good to take the critical voice out of this and simply be creative.
We're going to pause here because, as I said, we've covered a lot of material here. So what is this part of the session actually, what it starts with? After telling Hubert about the Zoom problem, the first thing you start the conversation with is, so first of all, I really like you. That's the opening phrase of the conversation. And then Hubert responds, that's very nice. Thank you very much. And then you say to him after that I remember when we were kids and everything, when you liked somebody, you told them, and as adults we sort of leave that, and so I'm thinking about this first part. Why do you open this for this part of the conversation in such a way? And then is it actually to a degree promoting age regression or other kinds of things because of this part, when you say as children or as kids we did this and as adults we did something like that? To me, I'm thinking to myself, maybe it naturally launches some associations or something. What is it?
Well, first of all, Hubert, how did you receive that?
When I right now think about it, it's a bit of a nice thing that also, as somebody who only for some time, that I was presenting you a story. When you tell me that you like me, you tell it based on the story I told you. So this is kind of a nice thing for a writer that with his story grabbed the attention and being liked by somebody who knows him only by listening to stuff what he was saying. So it was a nice thing, and it was kind of like a validation of my skills as a storyteller. Maybe like it was nice thing, and it but I wasn't thinking about it by the time. I just found it like a genuine way of saying that you like me, which is actually not everyday thing, because it's not how people usually talk to each other.
Yes, it's exactly true. And we'd had this little interruption, the technical interruption that didn't bother any of us, but I wanted to establish my relationship with you again, because it was, and I knew that we were going to be headed into the therapy. And so I wanted to establish the relationship, and it's true. I like you. I just do. I like your spirit, and that it was my way of saying, I think I get who you are. I think I have an understanding of who you are. Obviously, that we don't know each other well, so I don't know everything about you, but there's something about the way that your heart is, that you're open-hearted and you're curious. And so it was my way of saying, I understand this about you, and I like you. And because I said this, I then naturally, on the inside of myself, I moved back to what it was like for me as a child to hear those words and to say those words. And I think, Jan, you're probably right. I probably was encouraging a little bit of a child age regression, but really it was, for me, about beginning a really, open-hearted experience.
Yeah, and right after that, you go further and say to him that not only you like him, but you also not also that you really like him, but also that you really believe in him. And then you say, I really think that you're amazing in what you do, and so on. So there's then after all that opening, a lot of supportive, facilitating comments follow. Is it to create stronger bond or rapport for further, more in-depth creative work together?
Well, I think that when you tell someone that you like them, it's nice to be able to define that, instead of just I like you, but what is it about you that I really like? What is it that I admire? And I do have this belief in you, Hubert, that you're going to achieve the things that you set out to achieve, and particularly the internal growth, which is what my role is to help with internal growth. And then I actually set the stage for therapy, which is what I had gathered from the earlier time, like let's just call it the first half, is that to have a supportive lifestyle, that nourishes him. And so I set that I don't often do this in therapy, because I'm more of a follower rather than a leader. But I just knew that this was the interest, is to explore what it means to have this new lifestyle that's happening. And then I define it: work, play, getting married, having a child. There's a lot of breadth to deal with, a lot of change.
And I think that maybe to some degree it was a bit of a response to something what I said, like half an hour before that, because I was telling that we can start with the conversation, and then if you if you will like, we can have this hypnotic session, which I was looking very much forward to, but I was not certain 100% if maybe this half an hour will be enough for you. Maybe the second part will be like taking too much of your time, you know, this kind of stuff. Maybe I will overstay my invite a bit if I would like to have this hypnotic session. And it was making more or less ensuring me, yeah, I like you, so I want to spend a bit more time with you. So I felt comfortable. Okay, I'm not taking away your time. You're kind of enjoying it also, so I will feel good. I will not feel like an uninvited guest that stays too long and and don't know where to leave. this kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly.
So it also facilitates openness and like welcoming gestures.
Yes, you know, and because there are a lot of questions that in this case, because we're doing this experiment, so you know, none of us are being paid for this. And so, you know, there is the question of, you know, your time is valuable, and, you know, how are we going to use that time? And do you want to use that time? You know, was Hubert's question. And that, you know, the answer to that question is yes, of course. And so, again, and, you know, it's about, I think, the straightforward honesty, and which is something that I really appreciate.
Yeah, and it also kind of makes the relationship stronger for something that is yet to come, right?
Well, we're already, you know, at that particular point, we already had a great understanding about each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we want to be here and we want to bring out the best. And then I considered, because there was this little interruption, I almost considered the first part as session 1, and this now is session 2. Mm-hmm. That's what was going on in my mind. And the other thing that I knew is, I think it took us about 10 minutes or something to reorganize again. And I knew that Hubert was going to be going into a version of beginning his own psychotherapy, and that he had already started, and that now I was joining.
So in this part, you are like facilitating something that is already happening within Hubert himself.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And
what
mm-hmm. Well, this is part of that which is not easy to describe, but there's nonverbal cues that come. So it's not all about that you're saying the exact right words at the exact same time, but in kind of following nonverbal cues. And I think later on I pointed out, you know, some nonverbal cues, but I'm so sensitive to this that I don't even necessarily look at it in a strategic way. I mean, I can see a flash of something, and then mm-hmm. I have an idea that I often test out. So in the way that I respond, a lot of times it's with these minimal cues, and on Zoom it's really face. You know, looking at face, looking at what is the breath doing, you know, and if there's hands, what are the hands doing, this sort of thing.
Can you recall what were the actual cues that you picked up on, or that you know?
Well, essentially, that there was a real softness in Hubert's face, and that a lot of times you'll see that if someone is suffering a big problem, you know, you'll see angst. But in this case of exploration, that there was a softness in the forehead, a softness of the eyes. And so that's what I was responding to in that particular kind of instance.
That kind of softness, like right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the thing is, as therapists, is that we are responding to minimal cues all the time. We don't necessarily define it. But one of the things that Ernie used to tell me is that that I was so much better at the minimal cues than he was, and he was brilliant. But it's just that that's a sensitivity that I have, where I look at minimal cues, I'll listen to the rate of speech, the tone of voice, that that it's just natural for me to be able to do that. And so sometimes when I'm doing something, it may seem like it's kind of out of the blue, but really I'm responding to something, because as I say, I almost always follow rather than lead.
Cool. Okay. So another part of this segment, when you say after all these supportive statements and building the relationship, you say you say you're amazing in what you do and what you want to do, and then you say, and with this open mind and open heart that you have, and here is a slight pause, and so I know problems come, problems go. Is this actually a suggestion, or a modeling of the process?
Of course it is. That things come into your mind and then things leave. And the importance of normalizing that. And also problems do come and they do go. And this is not true in the case of Hubert, but for a lot of people, they think once I have a problem, I always have a problem. So for me to suggest maybe a different ending, like, maybe the problems go, that it is in fact a suggestion, but it's also true. And it kind of is, you almost watch, there's a drifting. Oh yeah, problems come, problems go. It changes the air in the room. It starts to go into trance.
And the suggestion that is also true is a truism.
Yes, and this is a huge secret of success, is that to go with what's true.
So this is a truism that actually models the process also. So it's true, but it also suggests something. And then you give the solution, or a proposition, I would say, of the direction, because you say that in this particular junction of your life is to be able to put together a lifestyle that works better. Lifestyle working, lifestyle of playing, lifestyle of, and then you go to fiancé, so,
baby.
Yeah, I mean, so is this a framework? I mean, we're gonna be working on a new lifestyle, on a new way of looking at things, and then
yes, but it's really non-verbally. I'm giving words, but it's really much more, non-verbal, because there's like all of these things. And if we were going to do it on an intellectual point of view, it would be, okay, first, we're going to look at this. Second, we're going to look at this. And then it would be this intellectual exchange. But when you've got a bunch of things swirling around, we see it's like which one rises to the top, which one is the most important. And that's not up to me.
And then I'm, just now thinking to myself, when we're gonna go through all those things that you name, lifestyle of working, lifestyle of playing, I'm looking at it and I'm seeing working, playing, fiancé, getting married before too long, fantastic, beautiful change. Things like that in one chain, right? One after another, but you don't see the chain. And then you go, and then everyone I've known that's married, so married, also really loved, you know, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, was this a seeding of a process, or is it, you know, because when you look at the individual sentences, you don't see it, but when I'm looking at those, the ending of each sentence, I see a process here. Was it consciously put there, or, you know?
Well, absolutely. The thing is that when you're going to get married, it's actually terrifying, you know, and that of all of the times you really need comfort, it's like, here you are, you know, you're going to marry someone that you really, really love. And that almost always involves a huge life review. And it's just like all of the doubts, all of the this, all of the that's the process. And so I wanted to offer some comfort here, and of the fact that, listen, you know, people that make this decision, you know, especially when it's not like a really fast decision, when it's a really thoughtful decision. And you know, and I know you've been with her for a long time, haven't you?
Yes, very long time. Actually.
Right. And so so there's, you know, this is not like a quick decision, but still, you know, when you get to that point and you're dealing with these life reviews and whatnot, but you do know this person well, the chances of the fact of the relief when you finally, you know, get the license and say I do, and you turn around and you look at this person and you just end up loving them more, that that kind of comfort of what is the healthy progression, and particularly in Hubert's case, is that this is like a total choice, you know, to move in this direction. But you know, so it's just from, you know, the kind of personal experiences, you know, and others that I've talked with, is that, you know, sometimes these life reviews can wipe you out. It's like, let's see, I did something wrong in the 2nd grade. Oh my God, is that going to affect me now? It's just, these life reviews are really something. And why not look forward to just loving more each day? And so in this respect, it is giving comfort and also giving a little something new to think about. You know, nobody thinks they're going to love their spouse more than when they've lived together for 5 years, 10 years, whatever. But in each and every instance that I've known people that have been together for a long time and then they get married, that the response is the same. It's like, I can't believe that I didn't do this a long time ago. This is just great. So, you know, I mean, it's a long way, you know, around, like, with the explanation, but that's really what I was thinking about, is that I like Hubert and I want him to have a great life. And I get to be this tiny, tiny, tiny little part of him developing this great life. So I'm humbled and honored in that respect. And that, so that's what really the motivation is, as well as to continuously expand. Like, there's so many ideas, so many directions that are happening on the subconscious level and the unconscious level, and it's waking them up. So it's going from the verbal really to the non-verbal.
Yes,
Okay.
and while listening, I wasn't thinking that it is like a professional choice of words that makes a process or seeding, but it was like a natural conversation for me, like a nice thing. So I was not thinking like too much of is it seeding, is it not seeding, is it a process or not. It was for me it was like this part that was an intro for the things that will to come, but hearing very, very nice things, because it's always too nice to hear that good things will happen to me, and not, for example, I know people that were together and when they become husband and wife, they thought that they are dead or something like that, and everything died in their hearts or something like that. So it was very nice.
Well, and Hubert, you're exactly correct, is that I'm not thinking about any kind of strategy or what does this mean. I will plant seeds, that's absolutely true. But what we're really doing here is that after the fact, when I'm, asked to explain what I did, then I have the ability to see it with different eyes. But at the time, it's just this spontaneous thing.
Yeah. And that's exactly how I was viewing it, and how I still view it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And one motivation that I had for participating in this project is that in the Psychobiology of Gene Expression, which was published, 21 years ago now, that there was a case, a very, very famous case, demonstration case that Ernie did with a woman with arthritis. And so I painstakingly transcribed this case word for word, everything that I could do. And then Ernie wrote his associations to what he was thinking about the time when he did it. And one of my favorite lines was, "Oh, well, went the wrong way there." So he was really open and honest about that. Oh, well, that wasn't fruitful, and this and this and this is what I was thinking. And was he thinking that at the time, or was he just, responding within the therapy? And at sometimes, sure, he was thinking there was that inner observer that was watching himself as he was conducting the therapy. And so this is like the same sort of thing. And in this case, with the arthritis case, this woman, this lovely woman, she was so crippled and twisted in her hands. I mean, you could see the redness, you could see the swelling, you knew it was painful. And it was an hour's demonstration. And at the end of the hour, and she held up her hands and she didn't have swelling or redness anymore. And she was, they were really celebrating. And so the inflammation went away in that session. And so it was like a really important session. And for decades following that session, it's like, will you work with me? I have arthritis. And it's, it was just, unique to that particular instance. But I was strengthened with the idea that, yes, as a therapist, you can actually look back and try to understand what you did at the time. You were just doing it, but what were you doing at the time? And, and how is the response? So, but it's good to have this clarity that no, I don't have these cogs going on in my mind, of the techniques, but after the fact, it's really good to look at them. So, there was one more aspect of it, and this was a seeding. It is that I think I said something to the effect, it's important to remove the critical voice. And so I was asking for a suspension of, too much linear observation or doubt.
Okay, great. Good to. I'm looking at it. Probably I remember that, but I don't know if I remember it from the material that was that we were looking.
Yes,
at.
it was. It was like the last thing. There. It was the last thing. And and it's also an interesting thing to introduce, is because a lot of people have the critical voice. And
yeah, you are right. Mhm.
and you know, and sometimes you just want to suspend that for a little bit. Like, you know, fine if you want to have a critical voice, but send it out for tea. It doesn't need to be here right now.
Yeah, and you can always dissociate that in hypnosis to a degree.
You know, to a degree, and so it sets the stage for, well, whatever happens, happens. We'll just see.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
and by the way, I must tell as a footnote that I was right now thinking for a short time that this kind of person that likes over analyzing very simple things makes a very good literary character as a background character in some short story. Like, for example, one guy is coming saying, "Hello, my name is Hubert," and the other one, "Why did he said that? Was he trying to create a bond with me, or why exactly he was selling that one?" In a very normal situation, like millions of people will introduce themselves in this kind of stuff, and this one is sitting, and maybe it causes him kind of problems with interacting with people. I already put in that as a yeah, that might be a nice characteristic for some character that will occur in some story on some time.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Not saying that Jan is over analyzing. I was just thinking as a you know, the part of brain was with you, and one was saying, "Oh, that will be a nice that will be a nice character."
is he actually describing a psychoanalyst on duty?
Well, I think there's a flavor of that. But that there's always a time and a place for the deeper analysis.
Yeah.
And but I think for that a character in one of your novels to go to that extreme, I think you can have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so I think we can go further with the recording.
Okay.
That's true. That's definitely true.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, that critical voices can come and go. So this idea of being able to focus your attention sooner on that which is important to you, and to be able to in a gentle way, you know, schedule the distractions. We all need distractions, you know, of hunting for this and hunting for that and whatnot, or, you know, having you know, coffee, taking a break, having more coffee. That, you know, we all need that. But to be able to use that in a different way, where it just plain feels positive to have a distraction, instead of, oh, what the devil's wrong with me now, that I can't just sit and do, you know, that which I want to do. So you know, I like hands.
Mhm.
Okay, there I can see both of you. So in this segment, what I can see is actually, by the way, you are totally right. The critical voice was there before as a last part of the last segment, and then you say critical voice can come and go. So the same as previously, the same process was modeled, like problems come and go. So, you know, this is the same dynamics. Very interesting. Is it purposefully connected, or was it just, you know, the same kind of process modeled here? And then in my, you know, from my point of view, another thing is a reframe. Because then you say about distractions as about something very useful and something that is actually required or sometimes necessary and welcome and can be beneficial. And you also say about scheduling them, you know, and so and then yes, and then you even name a few distractions that are fairly important, like, for example, taking a break or coffee. And we both know, or the three of us knows, that taking a break is actually pretty important altogether. So that's what I can see. And now my question, general question, what is it in
Well,
your
I
opinion?
did something that I'd never done before that I think is really interesting. So obviously my numinosum was working well when I suggested scheduling distractions. And I'd never thought before about scheduling distractions, but it occurred to me, well, why not schedule distractions? Like, when you're distracted a lot, as in this particular day, he was, took many hours of distractions. And so I guess I was thinking, I wonder if you schedule it, like, would that bring joy? Would that bring peace? Would that bring and acceptance, or almost, looking at it as fun? And so if you're really mindful about enjoying distractions, I think you don't need as many of them, maybe. And so it was just a very unusual suggestion on my part. But ultimately, that the more positive you feel about yourself, the more growth you can have. Now you can have recognize your downfalls. So I don't say always stay positive. Like, when you've really screwed something up, it's really worth reviewing, and it's like, or like the times when you're a bona fide idiot, it's a good idea to say, hey, I aced it in being an idiot there. So that you're acknowledging it, but you're not smashing yourself down about it. And so really that's what it was about, is acknowledging distractions. And it's true, distractions come and go.
Mhm.
Often in sessions that I do, some kind of theme will come up in my mind in the beginning, and then I'll end up repeating it because it'll come back to my mind, of things come and go, things come and go. So it was interesting to me that I decided to repeat that. And but again, it's a truism.
Okay. Hubert, would you like to add something here?
What I can add is that actually this is the part of conversation that I almost don't remember right now, because actually I was very thinking forward into that I will soon be hypnotized, that I was getting so excited that actually this part I don't remember. But it's, when I listened to it, it was also an interesting, especially about scheduling the distractions, because now I'm thinking that if I will actually schedule some things connected, for example, with chess or something, it might be less of a distraction, but more like a habit that I have to chill out. But as then when it was happening now, I was probably very excited, and I was thinking that soon I will get into hypnotic trance, and didn't recall it very much.
Well, it may also be that the spontaneous amnesia happened here, somehow covered, based, for example, on the state-dependent memory or something. What do you think about it, Dr. Rossi?
Well, this is so great, is that the therapist, in particular, the hypnotherapist, is saying some really great words, some really, like the wisdom, the flow, like all that other kind of stuff. And the client may not hear a single thing because they're in their own process. And so it becomes like a beautiful thing of what was going on inside me versus what was going on inside of Hubert. was and that I also knew because of the timing of it, clock time, I knew that he was wanting to and go into trance, and that process was beginning. And when the induction is conversational, it which is more often than not the way that I work is in a conversational way, that there gets to be these blurred lines of what's remembered and what isn't remembered, and is it an amnesia, or is it that the mind is elsewhere? I don't know, but and often, I know when Rossi and Erickson does her work, she'll say, and maybe you'll hear my voice, and maybe you won't hear my voice, and but this just beautiful permission so that the client can go into whatever state that suits them. So this is my way of saying there's no right or wrong answer to this. There's nothing is definitive. And that's the beauty.
Okay, thank you. So I think we can go further with the recording. This was another episode of our Experiencing Consciousness podcast. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jan. You're the best. Be well, be happy, celebrate life.